Am I the a-hole for getting upset my boyfriend wouldn't take me to the ER? My boyfriend, male 20, and I, female 21, live together at my parents'. I have been having some pretty bad UTI symptoms. I went to a walk-in clinic 2 weeks ago when I had clear signs of infection, and they sent me home and said I tested negative. I woke up a week later with extreme hip pain. I spent all day on a heating pad and crying. 2 more days passed, and then I woke up with the worst abdominal pain I've ever had. I began screaming and called my mom. She says to wake up my boyfriend and tell him to take me to the nearby hospital, 7 minutes, that is small, or one that's 35 minutes away that would properly handle what was going on. I wake him up and he says to just sleep it off. At this point, I'm in tears. He says no and alludes that I'm overreacting, which I've been known to do, and it's probably nothing because I tested negative. I feel as if I've been stabbed, and this is not the type of pain I can wait out. I even compare how I'm feeling to a possible bladder rupture because of how awful I felt. Finally, he agrees to take me, but only if I let him sleep for 2 more hours. I understand that if it was some ungodly time, but it was currently 11:30 a.m. and I went to bed at 3 a.m. after playing video games. I explained that I can't wait that long and have no one else home to drive me. He turns over and lays back down. An hour goes by of the worst pain of my life, and I decide I will just try to suck it up and drive myself to the nearby ER. I woke him up one more time, and I explained that I cannot wait any longer. I need to go now because something is wrong. He snaps and says give him 1 more hour, then lays back down. I storm off in my car and make it about 2 blocks before I realize I forgot my wallet, and I was in no state to drive as I was literally in so much pain I couldn't focus. I come home and lay down in bed beside him as I scream out in pain. He says that I know it takes time for him to wake up, and I have no right to get mad. I barely utter out please take me to the one 7 minutes away because I'm scared. I remind him that I've driven 2 hours at 3 a.m. and no sleep just to pick him up from the hospital, and spent the whole summer helping him recover from his injury, including bathing and wiping him because he needed me. He argues some more, then finally at 2:30 p.m. takes me to the hospital 7 minutes away. It turns out that I had an advanced UTI and infection in my bladder and kidneys, as well as a kidney stone that was infected. I felt bad as I recalled my attitude that morning, but I was in a lot of pain. I do recall saying things like, fine, just don't help then, and you're being a prick, in rebuttal to his attitude. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Past the kidney stone, past the boyfriend. Not the a-hole. You need rid of all these. Screaming and crying in pain? A person who can ignore that is not the one for you. I take it cab etc. weren't an option. You can't rely on this guy, so you need to have alternatives. Nope. Super small town, so no Uber etc. He really was my only option at the time to get the care I needed, and he knew that. Babe, dump him to the curb, and I don't say that often. He is not a keeper. You will have to drive to give birth alone, raise kids alone. My hubby had those kinds of pains and it was his appendix. If I had waited, it would have ruptured. Just run for your life. Quite literally. Because if they had kid, OP must also raise the adult child too. Also, someone who's refusing to help you to go to ER is something you must stay away from. You were in pain and asked to go to the hospital. Why your partner didn't hop up like there was a fire under him is concerning. Sounds like you need a new boyfriend. One that actually cares about your well-being. Yep, this. First, not the a-hole. Then, red flags. This boy has shown you who he is, and how he doesn't value you or your health. Kick that dude to the curb. You not only can do better, you must do better. First of all, I hope this is a troll, because can such a bad boyfriend exist? Dump the whole man. At least that's what I would do. What kind of person could ignore their partner who is in this much pain? Also, you said you are known to overreact. Is this something you've actually noticed about yourself? Have people in your life told you that you tend to do that? Or was it just your boyfriend? Mostly boyfriend. After posting this, it's kinda starting to make sense why he keeps cheating and I can't get him to stop. Because it's starting to become clear he doesn't care. He's cheating too? If you stay in this relationship, you're the a-hole to yourself. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for exposing and embarrassing my brother's girlfriend? So I'll keep this as brief as I can. My brother started dating this lady, Jessica, in January. The 3 of us live in the same city, about 3 hours from me and my brother's parents/extended family. So until recently, I was the only member of his family Jessica had met. One of my brother's favorite things to eat is this sweet potato and red pepper soup I make. The relevant info here is that the soup features onions as an ingredient. Not enough that you'd eat it and go, oh wow, this sure tastes like onions, but enough that if you skipped them, it wouldn't taste right. I make this soup for him approximately once a week, and Jessica has come to love it as much as he does, without ever mentioning any issues after eating it. So the issue. My brother, Jessica, and I traveled to Brother Dai's hometown for our grandmother's 90th birthday celebration this week. Our mom was catering it, specifically with traditional Indian foods, since that's where she and our grandmother are from. However, when we arrived and I offered to help mom with the prep work, I noticed she was making several additional dishes like chicken nuggets, chips and finger sandwiches, and was keeping them well separate from the rest of the food. I asked what that was about, and she casually said, I'm just making sure that Jessica can have something to eat with her allergies. I said I didn't know she had allergies, and mom said, yes, she says she's severely allergic to onion, garlic, and coriander. If you're familiar with Indian cuisine at all, you get why it would be an issue for someone with these allergies. Except, Jessica eats my soup. All the time. It has onions, and it's never caused her a reaction. The part where I may have been an a-hole is I said this to my mom, which, if you're familiar with Indian mothers, you may understand how that could have been a bad move. She didn't kick off or act aggressive, but she did confront Jessica about lying and ask if there was something wrong with her cooking. Jessica just got kind of red and stammer, and eventually admitted that she just doesn't like all that curry stuff, but thought saying she was allergic would be less awkward. Mom got pissed off because she'd taken such efforts to keep everything separate and whatever to avoid cross-contamination. Jessica got mad because mom was mad, and my brother got mad at me for saying anything in the first place. Everything got rather awkward, and Jessica ended up not even coming to the party. They now haven't spoken to me all week, except for my brother telling me I'm a gossipy a-hole, and that I shouldn't have said anything, which, yeah, I kind of get. Was I an a-hole? I didn't intend to cause drama. It was kinda just a surprised, oh that's weird. My soup with onions in doesn't make her ill. I feel bad for ruining her first impression with our family and embarrassing her. You didn't expose her maliciously. You were simply caught in her lie. Nothing would have happened if Jessica hadn't lied to start with. Faking allergies to force people to cater to your needs is very disrespectful. I understand that Jessica's mad at you because now, she won't get any respect from this side of the family and will always be seen as the liar. But it's all on her. She played a stupid game, she won a stupid prize. Faking allergies to force people to cater to your needs is very disrespectful. And it makes things so difficult for people who do have them. My best friend is allergic to garlic, hot peppers, strawberries, basil, rice, all sorts of weird stuff. When people fake allergies and get caught at it, it makes the lives of people like my friend more dangerous. Yep, I have major and weird food allergies. The number of times people have decided that because Joe Blow is faking, I must be too, have been insane. So do I. I am allergic to nightshade. I had a waitress hide a small piece of tomato in my food once. It sent me into anaphylaxis in front of my small children. Jessica lied to your mom to avoid all that curry stuff. Brother blamed you for gossiping? You answered your mom's honest conversation about how she was trying to do the right kind of cooking for Jessica. Your mom sounds great. Poor woman to have Jessica for a possible future daughter-in-law. Yeah, mom's awesome. That's part of the reason this is so annoying. If Jessica just said, hey, I don't care for Indian food, mom would still have made her something else. She just wouldn't have had to go to the effort of preparing separate sanitized work surfaces and what have you. She could have just wiped things down as normal between prep. I'm glad you recognize how awesome your mom is. I would give my non-existent left nut for an in-law who would go that far to accommodate our food allergies. Next story. Why 53 female is not okay with me 55 male paying for part of my ex-wife's 55 female daughter's 27 female wedding. My ex-wife and I were high school sweethearts and married as soon as we graduated. We stayed together for 5 years and had a daughter. We'll call her Kara. The relationship wasn't working, so we split, and my ex came out as a lesbian. My ex later had another daughter, Hannah, via donor, and I ended up becoming a father to Hannah. My ex didn't ask me to. We were on very friendly terms and already co-parenting Kara, so it came naturally. I met my now wife 3 years later, and she was very understanding of the situation and took the role of stepmother to both kids. We also have a son. Hannah's getting married next year, and my ex and her partner and I will all be paying for the wedding. We talked about this before including my wife. and everyone was fine with it. But now my wife tells me she doesn't like the idea of me paying for the wedding of a child who isn't really mine. She thinks that the money should go towards our son's education instead. I already saved some money for our son that should cover him for a couple of semesters. He can always work part-time or apply for financial aid as well. Still, my wife is upset and thinks I've taken care of her enough, and it's time to basically exit her life. I'm shocked because she seemed to absolutely adore Hannah, but I guess she never really considered her family. She made it known that she wouldn't care if it was Kara because she's my actual blood daughter. But I consider Hannah my daughter, and my ex's partner has also been a parent to Kara, including financially despite no relation, so it isn't one-sided. Edit. I'm putting in $1,200, and so is my ex and her partner. The money is coming from my separate account. Any other expenses will be covered by Hannah and her fiancé. They aren't having anything extravagant, and I have way more saved for my son. If him or Kara get married, I will put in for them too. Now for the comments. All of this over $1,200? I thought it was like $25,000 since she wanted you to use it for your son's education. Just give the money and move on. Using it for their son's education was really just a lame excuse. She just doesn't want her husband to pay anything because she isn't blood. Opie's wife sounds awful. Agreed. He sounds like a wonderful man being there for his kids, and a wife sounds bitter and hateful. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Hey Opie, it's $1,200 and your daughter's big day. I'd say pay for it out of your personal account. I'm so glad for the sanity check, because the comment section looked very different an hour ago, and I wondered if I was legit going crazy. He had an established relationship with Hannah before he met his wife. She knew he parented her and considered her his. She agreed to marry him knowing this. She co-parented Hannah. Here's the deal. Hannah is your daughter. Blood doesn't mean much. Being present and involved does. This was established before you were even married. Therefore, helping with her wedding is not only acceptable, but absolutely appropriate as you are her father. I adopted my daughter and have 2 boys of my own, and I love her as much as my boys. Well, probably more because daughters always hold a special place in a father's heart. I think you need to have a candid talk with your wife about this, and how important it is for you. Now for the last story. I feel like my female friends are hitting on my boyfriend, and I don't know how to address it. My boyfriend, 31 male, and I, 24 female, live together, and for the last 7 months have also worked in the same place of employment. We don't work closely, but other employees are aware we are dating because we arrive and leave together, and typically take lunch breaks together. For background information, I am very introverted. I find it incredibly difficult to make friends. I haven't had any friends for a few years now, especially with COVID. Recently, 2 girls with whom I frequently work with started chatting with me from time to time. I don't know their ages, but I think they're closer to my boyfriend's age than mine. They asked the other day if I wanted to hang out with them, and I was so excited. They suggested a movie night, and I offered to host but explained that my boyfriend would be home. They said this was fine, and we set a time and date. They are currently still over, and we're watching a movie. I bought wine and made a few baked goods and also bought some chips. I just wanted to have a good time. When they arrived, they were friendly, but when my boyfriend came to watch the movie with us, they started to ignore me. The girl beside me sneezed and accidentally spilled her wine in my lap. She apologized, but it did feel intentional. I laughed it off and went to get changed. When I came back, both girls had moved to the same couch as my boyfriend. One was whispering something to him and the other was touching his arm, acting afraid. We were watching a scary movie. My boyfriend looked mildly uncomfortable and was sitting forward in his seat. When they saw me return, the girl stopped and kept watching the movie, but didn't move. I sat on the couch I was on initially, and my boyfriend moved to sit with me. Both girls followed and sat beside him. Nothing more really happened. The movie's almost over, but they've asked to sleep over. They've both had wine, and I don't want to force them to leave if they're intoxicated, but everything that happened made me so uncomfortable. I thought they just wanted to be my friends, but now I don't know. Am I being oversensitive? I don't even know anymore. No, you're not. That is super inappropriate. I would ask them to leave. It's 2021, they can call an Uber. I would talk to your boyfriend too. He clearly wasn't okay with it, but just to be on the same page. But in no way are you being sensitive. Honestly, I would have asked them to leave the second I saw that. Just the fact that they changed seats twice to be close to him, super prick move. I wonder if them suddenly wanting to hang out with Opie coincided with them seeing her boyfriend for the first time. I wouldn't be shocked. I actually had the same thought after reading a few comments saying Opie is basically crazy, that no one acts like this. I, for one, am not shocked women and men alike have no respect anymore, and a lot of young women take pride in getting a taken man. Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Any girl can get a single guy these days if they know what they're doing. A taken guy, however, is more of a challenge because they aren't just gonna throw themselves at you. My boyfriend looked mildly uncomfortable and was sitting forward in his seat. My boyfriend moved to sit with me. He is a proper fella. Good for him. I don't want to force them to leave. Time to put on your big girl pants. You did invite them to a sleepover. If you let them walk over you on this, they're just going to amp up their attempts at your boyfriend. You'd expect him to handle it where it's his friends behaving this way to you. Put your foot down. Then apologize to him, tell him you love him and you won't put him in that position again. Trust me, that's going to make him love and respect you even more. You're definitely not being oversensitive whatsoever. I would be 100% uncomfortable myself, and the fact that your boyfriend was uncomfortable too shows that this isn't just nothing. I would personally speak to them and say that what they did made both of you feel uncomfortable, and that type of behavior cannot continue if they want their friendship with you to continue also. If they get upset and blame you in any way, take that as a response and don't entertain them anymore. If they don't say anything, take that as a response also and don't entertain them. Hopefully they'll understand your boundaries, but if not, it's not the end of the world. I don't have many friends myself. It is important to remember that your self-worth doesn't reflect on how many friends you have. As long as you enjoy your own company, that's all that matters.
Am I the a-hole for denying my ex his son after he abandoned us, and I took the choice alone to give him up for adoption? I, 32 female, had a baby boy when I was 16. Yes, I know how that sounds. No, we weren't careful. Judge me all you want on that front. I've dealt with that for years. Mike, 33 male, was my boyfriend at a time, and when I found out about my pregnancy, he did a disappearing act with help from his family. Something about being a future college star or whatever. My parents were always blunt. What happened next was my choice. After a lot of thinking and deciding abortion just wasn't for me, I chose to give up the baby for adoption. My parents knew a super sweet couple who were looking to adopt. We met and I just knew they were the right people. This turned from a teen mistake into almost a surrogacy. I started homeschooling to finish my education and to have time to rest. The adoptive parents were with me for everything. It even paid for most of the medical costs. The adoptive mother, a teacher, helped me with my schoolwork and prepared me for college. They were present for the birth and I refused to hold the baby. Instead, his actual mother did, and it felt right. I've stayed in the baby's life in a distant role as a special aunt. Well, he is no longer a baby and he knows who I am, but his mom is the woman who raised him, and I continue to be a special aunt. The only change is that now he knows who to call if he needs a kidney. His sense of humor is like mine. Go figure. We talk maybe once in a blue moon, which is honestly for the best. He's happy, and I don't regret giving him up to have a happy life. For my part, I got married 6 years ago. My husband, Aaron, 44 male, was divorced on good terms with Bella, 40 female. They have 2 children together, a boy who is 16 and a girl who is 19. Aaron made it clear from the beginning of our relationship that his kids' approval was important and that Bella would always be part of his life, not as a spouse but as a friend and the mother of his children. I also told Bella and Aaron about my teen pregnancy. To begin with the kids, my stepdaughter and I get along well. She's closer to her mother, but we still have girls' days together now and then. My stepson is incredibly close to me. He calls me his other mom and always asks me to be present for important events. We bonded when his childhood dog passed away around the same time my cat died. Bella and I were best friends. I know people have complicated relationships with their partner's exes, but we always show respect for each other. I never try to take her place. Aaron and Bella shared something special long before I was in the picture. That's their history. I'm a stepmom, not a mom. Her place in the kids' lives is not up for competition. The whole mess with Mike started when I took my stepson to a medical appointment. It wasn't serious, though he did have to be under anesthesia. Aaron and Bella both couldn't get the day off, so I went to support him. I didn't recognize Mike as one of the doctors. His real name, both first and last, is incredibly common, and it had been years. My priority was my stepson's care, so everything else was secondary. After the appointment, as I was getting my stepson comfortable in the car, Mike came over. He told me he had been thinking about me and our son for so long, and that he was glad our boy was okay. It took me a few minutes to realize what was happening as he rambled on about apologies and not being ready to be a father, blah blah blah. Eventually, I sighed and loudly said, "This is not the baby I was pregnant with." I gave him up for adoption after I gave birth. I'm a stepmother. My loopy stepson chimed in with, "Other mom," and I had to hold back a smirk. Mike was stunned, which gave me time to explain. I told him I gave up the baby. The child knows what happened. I'm happily married with stepchildren and I don't want him in my life. I also made it clear I wouldn't give him contact information for the adoptive family. He's 16 years too late. I left it at that and drove my stepson home to rest. Since then, Mike has found me on social media and has been painting a sob story about me denying him a chance to be a father. He claims I threw away my child to raise someone else's. According to him, I'm basically the she-devil. Most of our former classmates reminded him that he left me. Some of his high school friends even pointed out he laughed about leaving me pregnant. I hadn't known that part. A few of Mike's relatives have reached out to bash me for taking away his chance to be a father, calling me a poor Christian. I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish. A couple of friends said it was a bit move to give the baby up without telling Mike. Personally, I don't think I was in the wrong, but I'll leave the judgment to the internet masses. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. When he abandoned you and his son, he made a choice to not be a part of either of your lives. You didn't deny him anything. He did it to himself. The decision of adoption was yours, and you did what you thought was right. That's perfectly normal. Not the a-hole. Not to mention, if Mike really did think about the kid often and wonder if he was okay and whatever other nonsense he spouted in OP, then why didn't he contact her earlier? He clearly knew how, since he found her on social media quickly. This just smacks of BS. Not the a-hole by a mile. These people are freaking psycho. Block, block, block. Your bio kid might decide for himself to try and find his bio dad one day, but it's your job to defend his privacy until then. And make sure his decision is informed. That is, he knows that his bio dad is a complete ass. I told him everything when his parents decided it was time to tell him who I was really. I didn't make Mike into a villain, just said he left her after I told him I was pregnant and never reached out. He's been clear that while I am his biological mother and Mike his biological father, he doesn't see either of us as parents. I am his aunt and Mike is a stranger. I hope Mike never finds him. If he does, make sure your nephew gets more details about Mike's actions, so he doesn't give him a chance at all. Not the a-hole. Hi, therapist here. Seems like it was the right decision for everyone involved. Especially Mike, who clearly shouldn't be anywhere near children given his full lack of impulse control and empathy. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my ex-wife financially after she cheated on me? I, 35 male, was married to my ex-wife, 34 female, for 10 years. We built a life together and I thought we were happy until I discovered she was having an affair. It shattered me and the divorce process was grueling. I had to start over from scratch, emotionally and financially. Despite everything, I remained committed to supporting our 2 children. I provide generous child support and ensure they have everything they need. Recently, my ex reached out to me, saying she's in a tight spot financially and asked if I could lend her some money to cover her expenses. I declined, explaining that my responsibility is to our children, not to her. She argued that helping her would ultimately benefit the kids, but I stood firm. I've already endured enough pain and can't see myself extending help to someone who betrayed my trust so deeply. Now, she's turned some of our mutual friends against me, claiming I'm being vindictive and punishing her through financial means. They believe I should help her for the sake of our children, but I can't bring myself to do it. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My focus is on providing for my kids, not supporting someone who broke our family. Boundaries are essential for my healing and self-respect. Not the a-hole. The kids are already being provided for. That's the extent of what you are legally/morally obliged to do. It sounds like she took you to the cleaners and is now back for more. If it had been even a little amicable, then you may have wanted to help. Any friends who are taking her side in this are friends you don't need. Tell them to give her the money since they are still her friends. Suggest you take full custody of the kids. She can still have visitation rights. This will lessen the financial burden she is suffering, and she can do so without compromising the welfare of the children. You can even offer to waive any child support from her. She won't accept, but you've offered a solution. This is the best answer. She'll start using child support money to cover her own expenses, instead of using it on the kids and blame you for them having to go without. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Her affair partner can help her. Exactly. If she's in such a tight spot, her affair partner should be stepping up. It's not your responsibility to financially bail her out after what she did. You're already providing for the kids. She should have expected to handle her own situation. My immediate response was, why don't you ask a fair partner to help, since that's how you got into this situation? And I'd tell the friends, I'm not being vindictive. I only help close friends or partners, and her and I are neither after she chose to have an affair. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I leave my partner homeless? I, 20 female, and my fiancé, 22 male, have been at each other's throats 24/7. Not one day goes by where I can have peace of mind with his man-child. I've already called off my engagement, and I'm about to just call it quits. But I'm the breadwinner, so that would leave him homeless. Anytime I mention breaking up, he says I'm being typical, bringing up my family history, and claims he wouldn't be surprised if I took him to court for child support for our 1-year-old son. A little backstory leading to now. I am the one who cooks, cleans, works, makes appointments, and find babysitters. All he does is work, come home, put Mickey Mouse on our son's tablet, and then go play video games while our son watches Mickey Mouse. That's how it goes until I get home from work around 12 a.m. I'm a server, and all the bills are under my name. He contributes $800 towards the bills, while I paid $2,300. We both work full-time jobs. Anytime I complain to him about not putting in the effort, he says, I will change. I'm sorry, I'll do better. But he never does. I'm at my breaking point. For example, after I did the laundry and handed him bags of neatly folded clean clothes, he told me to be patient and that he would put them away. It's been 1.5 weeks, and they're still in the corner of the room, now with dirty clothes piled on top of them. Whenever I suggest we clean together, he helps for the first 5 minutes, then starts complaining about how tired he is, lays down, and goes on his phone. I'm exhausted. All I do is try to make this man happy, even if it means my mental health is at an all-time low. I'm currently dealing with a lot of health issues and can't seem to find the energy to even take care of myself. I even let his family stay with us rent-free if it meant making him happy, but I feel like I'm doing everything wrong. I just want to throw it all away. I'm exhausted. If I leave him, he would be homeless because I'm the only one who can afford a place we live in. He says he would rather be homeless than move in with his family again. I just can't handle it anymore. Would I be the a-hole if I leave my fiancé? Edit. For everyone wondering how I lasted so long with him, I occasionally get comments like, I'll off myself, or you're a whore like your family, whenever I bring up leaving. It makes me think about how I don't want my son to grow up saying he doesn't have a dad. My child's father and I have been together since we were kids. We grew up together. Not the a-hole. Get rid of him. His homelessness is his issue. How does he also work full-time, but only has $800 to put toward his family? Your stress will be cut in half. Exactly. Plus, he has a place to go. He just doesn't want to go there. I'd be more mad about him whining about child support. Why shouldn't he pay for his child? He is not your problem to solve. You know better than to marry him. And fortunately, you and your kid are now tied to him for life. Also, he's a dad. Child support is part of that if it comes to it. No gotcha there. Stop prioritizing him. He's like this because he can do. Let him solve his living issue. Agree, child support is not a surprise. No gotcha moment. Everyone knows this. OP, he is trying to bully you out of him paying child support. If you create a child, you have to support them. This is common knowledge. You would not be the a-hole if you left, but you would be if you let him continue to teach your son that is how you treat your partner. We promote what we permit. Children learn from their parents. If you can't dump this guy for yourself, do it for your child. Last story. I, 33 female, told my boyfriend, 33 male, that I'm no longer interested in marriage. I, 33 female, have been in a 10-year relationship with my boyfriend, Carl, 33 male. After the first year of our relationship, I made it very clear that I intended to be a wife someday. By the time I was 28, I started to remind him of my goals and expectations. And Carl told me that while he knew he wanted to marry me, he just wasn't ready yet. He also said he didn't like how I was pressuring him and even called me controlling. Eventually, we broke up, but 6 months later, we got back together and even moved in together. Looking back on it now, I realized that wasn't the best decision, but I was so emotionally attached to this man and felt so invested that I was willing to go back to him. Carl and I have now been living together for 4 years. While I stopped being happy about it after the first 6 months, living with him isn't a bad experience. Plus, I always thought that us getting married was just around the corner because he said he was ready to commit to me. He explained that he wanted to wait for the right time because I deserved a perfect proposal and a more stable husband. I've been going to therapy for the past 2 years and recently had an epiphany. Since childhood, I've always wanted a wedding, but never really gave much thought to being a married woman 24/7 and what that would mean. Given my country's shift in politics and new laws that politicians are trying to pass, I realized that not only am I fine with never getting married, but I'm starting to lean more into no longer possessing the desire to do it. Since then, it feels like I've been set free in a way and started focusing on myself. One of the major things I've done is tell Carl that I'll no longer assist with babysitting his nephews and niece. And instead, I'll focus more of my time on getting certified in something to increase my earning potential and just relaxing. Carl seemed nonchalant about it at first, but then he said we needed to have a sit down after I sent Carl's mom and his brother a text, letting them know they had 3 weeks before I stopped helping out completely. Carl said that while he understands my desire for more personal time, it's important to be there and sacrifice for family. I told him that he could switch around his own work schedule and help with the kids, since they're technically his family. He said the children love me and that one day they'd be my family too, once we were man and wife. It was at that moment I told him I no longer desired marriage. While I gave him my reasons, Carl still took it as me wanting to break up with him and or thinking that he would make a terrible husband. That's not the case at all, but he's starting to lash out and get suspicious, and I just don't know what to do. How do I get my boyfriend to see that it's me, not him? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. So he can unilaterally decide when you need to act like a wife and when he doesn't need to act like a husband? Nah, bro overplayed his hand, and now he needs to deal with the consequences. The carrot he was holding over OP's head is now rotten and no longer of interest for OP. He cannot use it to pressure her anymore into things like babysitting his nibblings. The maybe someday have faith is gone. Now, if OP finally realizes she doesn't want to be with him anymore, she can just leave without sacrificing anything. The first thing was feeling relieved, the first action to quit babysitting. That says a lot. The sacrificing part was hilarious. It's the general social expectation for women when it comes to caregiving. Your mistake is thinking it's your responsibility to help him adjust. You are not his mom nor wife. Let him be suspicious and do not accept lashing out of any kind. He's probably more projecting than suspicious. You are right. The last thing she should do is nurture this relationship in any way. Not the a-hole. You just took away his leverage. How dare you? How else is he supposed to keep you in check? if he can't hold the distant hope of marriage over your head. He thinks that it's important to be there and sacrifice for a family. But why are you the one to sacrifice? After all, they're his nibblings, not yours. I think that this new and powerful attitude of yours is shaking up the power balance in your relationship, and your boyfriend is trying to steer back to where you were.